How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the best captaincy choices for Game Week 31. It's a bit difficult this week. There is one standout fixture, and Kevin De Bruyne might have a part in that, but who's going to play for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team? They're only up 2-1 in their Champions League tie, and they need to be keeping one eye on that as well. So, Pep Roulette. Is it time to spin the wheel, or are we going to definitely dip into that randomization of a team selection that could be in Game Week 31? We also have to potentially deal with some other tougher captaincy choices. Are Liverpool back? I mean, they got, pretty handily beat by Real Madrid, but they beat Arsenal pretty comfortably. So is it a Premier League versus Champions League thing? We're not too sure. And then Kane and Fernandes, the two Mr. Consistents of the league, they play each other. So is it going to be a 6-1 thrashing like last time? Or will Man United get their revenge? And then we have our differential captaincy choice as per usual. If you are enjoying the series, make sure to leave a like on the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with all the different posts and retweets and that sort of stuff that we do over there. And give us a follow over on Twitch. There'll be a pinned comment down below that'll let you know that we're doing a deadline stream tomorrow, 1 hour before the deadline. I was going to say we were going to do it, on Thursday, but tomorrow is Friday, and we'll be doing one for the first time this season, 1 hour before the deadline, because of my new schedule. I'm able to do deadline streams on Friday, which is fantastic. So make sure to come with your questions and keep the chat interactive as per usual. So without further ado, let's see who's on the captaincy choices this week. So the first player we have on our list is Kevin De Bruyne. He was on the thumbnail, and for good reason. He just seems to play 90 minutes pretty much every game, no matter what the fixture is. I think Pep needs to play either him or Gundogan, basically almost every game. He needs to have at least one of them on the pitch, because I think they're two of his most important players, whereas kind of the rest of the attackers he can rotate around a bit. But I think De Bruyne is one of these players, he's the captain when Fernandinho isn't on the field. And I think he's just too important to drop. He's the creator. He's the straw that stirs the drink, as it were. And I think he's probably the most likely outfield player to start if you have to kind of nail down a player. And typically, he is the best player on the pitch when he does play. That was the same case for when he played versus Leeds the last time. It was pretty much, one of the main factors why City were so good versus Dortmund as well for large periods. And I think he's just the dictator of the whole way City play, the tempo, all that sort of stuff. He's just the guy that just makes everything happen. And I think without him, you can see them, kind of drop off a little bit, at least with the current system and the way that they play. However, are there any returns coming soon? Because De Bruyne, again, he could be the best player on the pitch, and he just doesn't get returns. That can definitely happen. If Sergio Aguero's on the field, does he lose out on penalties as well? That could be an issue as well. So, because being a great, player in the Premier League doesn't always translate to FPL points. And with only 5 goals this season, that's definitely been the case for De Bruyne. He is still keeping up with his assists. Obviously, he's had some time out due to injury. And he is fairly low owned, only 19.9% owned there. But I think Leeds is definitely a fixture. If you still have him, I personally got rid of him last week for Fernandes. He's somebody that could potentially hold the armband this week. I think he's probably the most secure out of all the City outfield players that isn't a defender. So if you're going to go for a captaincy shot, I think the best fixture to target on paper is Man City versus Leeds. It's just who's going to play. I think De Bruyne is probably most likely to start and get at least 60 minutes. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's kind of the best player that they have available in terms of creativity. Everything runs through him. So why wouldn't Pep play him? But we've seen crazier things from Pep Guardiola, but I think De Bruyne is going to start from the beginning and probably the best captaincy shout if you have him this game week. Now over to the other side of Manchester, a team that hasn't been producing the greatest football at recent weeks is Manchester United. I mean, City play this beautiful, scintillating football. United have been almost Mourinho-esque, playing very on the counter, not very, good from open play, except with a, massive long ball or, creating a penalty opportunity or that sort of thing. We don't really score from set pieces either, which is not great apart from penalties, but like free kicks and corners, not really United's thing. But someone who definitely puts in those penalties is Bruno Fernandes, scoring another penalty in Europa as well. He has 16 goals, 13 assists, which is just absolutely insane for the season in the Premier League. That's more than a goal and an assist per game. It's just crazy. The guy just gets returns basically every week, and I think he's going to continue that versus Spurs, who have been quite weak defensively. They are a team that's going to sit back and try to hit United on the counter, most likely, although they are at home, so maybe they open up a little bit, which probably plays into Fernandez's hands. He likes to have space in behind to hit the balls into the likes of Rashford, into Cavani, into Greenwood, into these sorts of players. And also, you wouldn't be surprised if he wins another penalty versus a Spurs defense, which, let's face it, they look very, very heavy on the mistake side of things rather than the, good play side of things. And with Rodon, who's a very inexperienced young talent, but can potentially, learn and grow, alongside Davinson Sanchez, who hasn't really convinced in the Premier League, that could be a very risky, center back pairing. If it is played in a back four, if it's played as a back three with another defender there, maybe a Dyer, maybe, a Toby Alderweireld, somebody like that, that probably gives him a bit more coverage, but it is versus one striker. Not sure really how Mourinho is going to play it, but if he does play that back four with those two center backs, Fernandes should be able to pick that apart, probably win a penalty. I mean, they won a penalty the last time they played Spurs when they lost 6-1, but they'll want to get revenge over on Spurs, and I think Fernandes is probably Mr. Consistent, probably a good captaincy shout this game week. Now, the other Mr. Consistent is Harry Kane, and Bruno Fernandes and Kane go up against each other. Kane is at home, and Fernandes is away. But Kane, 19 goals, top of the Premier League this season, 13 assists, 204 points. Absolutely insane what he's doing this season. Just shy of 50% ownership, and got 13 big points in the previous game week, getting himself a brace, and was a very good captaincy shout last week, and probably is a good one this week. He's at home, so you think probably maybe Spurs are going to want to replicate what they did versus United last time, although there was a red card incident which left United at 10 men and probably exacerbated the situation. But I think Kane is someone who always tends to score when his team most needs it. He isn't going to be this type of, striker where if he needs 6 chances to score 1. If you give Kane 1 decent chance, he will score. And United's defense hasn't, been putting in the performances that I think warrant some of the clean sheets that they've been getting. But nonetheless, Kane will definitely exploit that if that was going to happen. And I would say on set pieces is potentially where Kane could potentially get one. Son with a good delivery on himself on either side of the pitch for either corner flag. And Kane is someone who has, scored against United in the air. I remember a goal specifically, and I think it was 3-0 within a space of like 5 or 10 minutes. And Kane got one after running off of Phil Jones, but he hopefully won't play. But even still, Kane is someone who's very good in the air, where the likes of Lindelof, if you were to attach him to him, would suffer a little bit as he's not as great in the air. Kane is very good in the air. He's also great on the floor as well. And again, a penalty factor. Maybe Lamela kind of weaves his way into the box and then, falls over and then they get a penalty. You would expect Kane to score that as well. So it is a bit tricky. A tough goal between Fernandes and Kane. Kane at home with the recent, or not recent, but the latest result versus United being a 6-1 thrashing at Old Trafford. But then you have Fernandes away from home. It's tough to call between the two of them, but if you're going to stick your vice captain, it's probably going to be one of these two, just to be sure that you get somebody who's going to play. But I think Kane is definitely a viable shot for the captaincy, especially for the points that he got last week, showing that he is Mr. Consistent. And I think he's definitely a good shout for the captaincy this game week. Now, another captaincy choice is Mohamed Salah. We wouldn't think twice if this was last season. Salah at home to Aston Villa, who was nearing the relegation zone at the time and spent a good portion of the season in it as well. 12.4 million, the most expensive player, I believe, in the game. 182 points, 18 goals, only one behind Kane in the Premier League this season. He'll definitely be looking for that golden boot. He wants to win it outright, getting himself a goal in game week 30 as well. And again, Salah continues to score. He continues to perform. It's just the other front two that seem to kind of be a bit lackluster when it comes to overall output, whether it be Sadio Mane or Roberto Firmino. Both of them have been very wasteful at times in terms of Firmino in front of goal and Mane when in possession. I think that Salah is definitely the clear, choice out of the front three. I wouldn't put the captaincy on Jota, although he is a consideration for a transfer in this week for sure. And Liverpool's fixtures are fantastic from, even game week 31 onwards. They do play United in 34, but that wouldn't put me off, having a couple of Liverpool players and playing them for the rest of the season, game in and game out. And Salah did score in the Champions League as well, so he's basically got 2 and 2 and doing quite well for himself. And I think he's their only real hope when fit, basically, to score. Yes, there'll be players that can create things. Yes, there'll be other players that can make things happen. But at the end of the day, if Salah doesn't score, Liverpool probably has a bit of a difficult time winning the game. Do I think they're turning the corner? I think so. I think they're starting to get some players back. Fabinho's back in midfield. If he can maintain his position there long enough for Jordan Henderson to come back in the midfield alongside him, that will change the dynamic. And I also think that Jota helps Salah score more as well, because Jota can play off the left, which forces Mane over to the right at times, which means Salah can play through the middle, which is where we want him to be, closer to the goal and scoring goals for our fantasy teams. I don't have him personally. I don't think I can get him in until probably game week 34 or 35 probably. But I will be bringing Jota in because it's an easier transfer as like a coverage. But I think if you have Salah, I think he's a very good captaincy shout. And it's probably on par with De Bruyne. If I knew that De Bruyne was starting as well as Salah, I would say it's probably a coin toss between those two. De Bruyne probably has slightly more upside because he's playing against a slightly weaker defense. But I think if you have Salah, I think he's pretty much one of the better captaincy shouts this game week. And our differential captaincy choice this week is Danny Ings. He's currently 8.4 million, coming off an 11-point scoring in game week 30, and he has West Brom away. A very good fixture on paper. West Brom, a team that has been a lot better away from home than they have been at home this season, whether it be under Slaven Bilic or Sam Allardyce. They've been a much better team away from home. Luckily for Danny Ings, he gets to play them at home. And they're going to have to try to win this game, West Brom. They need points. Sam Allardyce came out and said something like they need 5 wins and a couple of draws from their last 8 or something to secure themselves out of the relegation zone. That's going to be difficult to do. And if they're going to do it, they're going to have to beat teams like Southampton, who've had very high highs and very low lows this season. So that could leave some space in behind for Danny Ings, who is great in running in behind when linking up with either Che Adams or Stuart Armstrong or Nathan Redmond or Theo Walcott. He seems to work well with all of those partners, whether they be in a front two or he's up there on his own. And if I'm Danny Ings, I'm going to be trying to vie for a Euro spot in 2020 for that roster. Gareth Southgate should be taking a look at Danny Ings. He's just a different striker to the rest that England have. Calvert-Lewin, more of your aerial threat, more of your one-touch finisher. Kane, very good provider, creator, also kind of the leader, the captain. Whereas Danny Ings, he's kind of an enigma style player. He kind of blends in and works with pretty much anyone around him. If you need him to run it behind, he can do a little bit of that. If you need him to go out wide, he can, try to create there as well. And he's very sneaky with his runs. And I think versus West Brom, a team that hasn't been as organized defensively as Sam Allardyce would probably like at points during his campaign to stay out of relegation, I think Ings could definitely exploit that. So if you're looking for a differential captaincy choice, I think Ings is your man. And if you're on a wild card as well, he's also good. You just leave a little bit extra money in the bank to switch to Vardy's great fixtures after the fact, because Vardy plays West Ham, which is a bit trickier of a fixture. I think Ings could be a one week punt, as it were, and then you can just book that transfer in for 32 to bring in the likes of Vardy. I know booking in transfers probably isn't great, but if you're gonna do it, there's got to be an upside for the likes of Danny Ings, who plays West Brom away, and he's my differential captaincy shout for this week. And that is going to do it for our best captaincy picks for Game Week 31. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. And turn the notification bells on so that you can get notified when videos go live over on YouTube. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with all the different retweets and FPL news that we post over there, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch if you want to join us for our FPL live streams. We will be doing a deadline stream tomorrow. That's going to be at 12:30 p.m. EST. There'll be a pinned comment down below. It's going to be 1 hour before the FPL deadline. The link's in the pinned comment down below, so check it out. we'll see you over there for that. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.